Hello and welcome to another episode of the Startup Operator Roundup. I'm Roshan Karyappa.
And I'm Gunjan Saha, and together we break down the biggest headlines of India's growing startup ecosystem. If this is the first time you're tuning into the channel, then please consider subscribing to it for we talk everything startup. And if you're a regular listener, you know what to do: like, share, subscribe, drop comments, rate, do all the good stuff. This has been a long weekend.
Yeah.
It was not just the Independence Day, but Friday was an unofficial off for many also.
Well, speak for yourself. I was working. So, yeah, it is what it is. I hope you guys had a great 78th Independence Day.
Yeah.
So, yeah, lots of optimism in this episode as well, hopefully.
Yes. Since we're on the topic of freedom, let's talk about what freedom means for startups. It could mean freedom from high compliance costs, freedom from talent shortages. I think over the past few years, we have made great progress in building infrastructure. So that's freedom from bad infrastructure as well. And slowly and steadily, we are moving towards the whole Atmanirbhar Bharat vision.
Yeah, baby steps along the way. I'll add freedom of thinking without constraints. I think for too long, Indian entrepreneurs were happy, just solving small local problems. I think, since then our horizons have kind of broadened, especially when you talk about new technology leaps like AI and so on. I think it's important for us to think about large global problems as well being solved out of here. So yeah, freedom in all respects for us.
Yeah, and also there have been a lot of population scale problems that have been solved
Yeah,
with tech adoption in India. And I think
that's the amazing thing about solving for India as well, right?
Yeah.
If you solve for a billion people, that's like a sixth or seventh of humanity itself, So it's a very scalable solution that you could take to other parts of the world.
Yeah. On the technology front, Sarvam AI also announced a set of APIs to build on top of the India stack.
Yeah.
And they're doing some really brilliant job at it, and I think that unlocks a lot of potential. We'll talk about that. UPI also announced a big update for its payment infrastructure. It introduced what it's called UPI circles, and that helps delegate your bank accounts to others in your family or your network. Krafton has also announced plans to set up an R&D center in India, and we have some interesting fundraisers along the way. We'll talk about that as well. So let's get started. Roshan, you have been following Sarvam AI, closely, and we have had founders on the podcast. Last week they held an event. Nandan Nilekani also attended it, and they released a set of APIs which kind of is like ChatGPT 4.0, but for Indian languages. The
Yeah.
model is fine-tuned to Indian languages. India has over 22 official languages, over 1,600 dialects. So when we talk about using tech to solve population level problems, I think this one is a great example.
Yeah, it's amazing. We have an English speaking bias, all of us, right? City rats. But I think about 150 million of us speak English in India, probably around that much, right? There's still a whole bunch of people who are native in other languages, and there's no shortage of languages in India, right? We have like such a diverse population. So what Sarvam has been able to do is build compatibility with about 10 languages like Bengali, Kannada, Telugu, Tamil, and so on and so forth. All the popular ones, Hindi and so on, right? So they've open sourced a couple of these models for the public as well to build on top of it. One is a text model, and the other is this language model called Shukra, I think. And then they have a whole bunch of proprietary models as well on specific use cases like legal assist and so on. It's fabulous. I just saw a demo of the native language model. Now, forever and forever, IVRs have been just plain weird in India, right? For starters, they're in English, and to top it, it's not even the kind of English that we speak, right?
Yeah.
It's a very Angrez English, right? It's the kind of English Gunjan speaks after a couple of rounds of whiskey, right? What I saw was that even the accent was Indian, right? The English that was spoken was in an Indian accent. It detects what language is being spoken. So if you were to speak in Hindi and say something like "Aapko Tamil pata hai?" The reply will be in Hindi, right? And then you can start talking Tamil as well. Almost like how all of us speak,
You
right?
sound very natural.
We're all bilingual, trilingual, like multilingual when we speak, right? I mean, there are words in Tamil, there are words in English, Hindi that are spoken about. The good thing is that it's able to catch those words, right, reasonably well, and reply in a way that you can understand. So fabulous stuff. I think this whole sales assistant, customer experience, service assistant, etc., this whole IVR technology is definitely going to get a leg up with this, for sure. On the legal side, I think, look, legal and research, right? These are two areas I feel like chat gpt and all of these language models can solve like yesterday,
Yeah.
right? They have this hallucination problem which is that they make up shit. I mean, that is something that everyone is kind of trying to solve right now to minimize that, basically. But otherwise, I mean, just condensing like vast troves of information into like really the essentials
Yeah.
is something that chat gpt and the likes can do, right? And Sarvam is really good. I mean, they've made a good attempt at that as well. So yeah, fabulous stuff, man. I mean, I remember, a year back or something, Sam Altman came and threw the gauntlet
You
that,
guys can build
rather than
something.
build an LLM of your own, you guys should build on top of that, build applications or something. And people have taken it seriously, and again, fabulous to see that, Mr. Nandan Nilekani has supported this initiative. I think, yeah, I mean, every consequential large scale problem, you kind of trace it back enough and then you will find Nandan's hand on that, right?
Yeah.
So fantastic stuff, and hopefully we have the Sarvam AI team on the pod sometime to talk about it at length.
Yeah. So one of Sarvam's customer is Sri Mandir app, right? It's
Oh yeah,
right, and
I won't say
they
that
have
we're going to publish it for the third time. People will find me and kill me, right? I mean, so you guys just have to wait it out. Yeah,
no, but it'll be coming soon.
coming soon,
Coming soon.
hopefully. Yeah, all depends on the producer.
Okay, so Sri Mandir app is one of their customers, and they said that they have processed more than 270,000 transactions so far using this voice model. Now, what got me thinking is that today, when you put your number in policy buzzer, and always get the spam calls, right? Now, if these calls start sounding more and more natural, don't you think like there'll be a lot of other security?
Yeah, of course. I mean, look, I have been fooled more than a couple of times, right? And yeah, I mean,
The
it
other
can
day, I
happen.
got a call from a +1 number, US number, saying, "Hi, this is the Telecom Authority of India." And I was like,
Yeah, I mean, any of these technologies, right? I mean, with new innovation, there is new possibilities of fraud and spam and misuse and so on and so forth. But I guess, we'll all have to get smarter and be more cautious. That's the only way.
"Savdhan rahiye, satark rahiye."
Exactly.
Okay, let's talk about the big announcement that UPI made. They launched what is called the UPI Circle feature. This is expected to be useful for families where one member owns the bank account, but they want other family members to access it as well. This kind of reminded me of few apps as you use around school, class 11, 12, where you load up a wallet, or let's say max 10, 20K, your family would load it up, and you would get this debit card, which you could transact from. And that account would be managed by my parents. And this feature sounds very similar to that. It allows the primary UPI user to link trusted secondary users on the UPI app for partial or full delegation of payment. It also aims to expand UPI usage to unbanked users, folks who don't have a bank account. So when we say that, hey, India is really putting an effort to drive financial inclusion, but that financial inclusion is happening from across various angles, not just UPI or your Jandhan bank accounts, but a lot of motions are in play.
Yeah, so this is fantastic. I mean, see, if you look at UPI growth itself, right? I mean, the payment and the transaction aspect of things can grow by volume and value, right? And you can make that more robust. With 2.0, we saw that you can make offline payments, you can use it like a wallet, and so on and so forth. There are two other broad areas that you can kind of look at. One is financial services, and the other is financial management, right? Or money management. Let's put it that way. Now, financial services in terms of credit and so on, and financial management in terms of just giving people the ability to sort of manage their money through like a typical software, right? And this, I feel, this whole mechanism is on the latter
The
one that I
latter.
spoke of, right? Which is that, hey, there is one account, does not have to be constrained by one phone number. I can tag it with as many as 5 phone numbers, and there are enough checks and balances to prevent fraud, right? And typical UPI account. Let's say if in a family there is one person who has it, I mean, their kids can perhaps use it, or elderly parents, so on and so forth. So it's awesome. It's awesome. I mean, it's just going to widen it to a larger base. I mean, newer use cases are going to emerge, right? And
It'll also like
hopefully,
help other companies build on top of this feature, like money
correct.
management.
Yeah,
I mean, think of like Splitwise, right? With
yeah.
Splitwise, you're like able to group expenses in the of other friends,
I'm
and
pretty sure that if you look at the roadmap ahead, right? I mean, this might figure at some point, right? So exactly on those three lines, right? One is transaction, then financial services, and then some kind of money management via this whole app module is perhaps what they're thinking of. Fantastic stuff, man. I mean, uh, I just hope that there are more business use cases that kind of emerge, right? UPI is still not the go-to for businesses as such. So I hope people transact more high-value things via UPI. Let's see.
yeah. Okay. Next up, Krafton is planning to set up an R&D center in India. Krafton is a developer of PUBG and BGMI. The new facility will be creating games that resonate with the Indian culture. It's much more contextualized for India. And some of the probable locations could be the Bangalore or Pune. The details are still being finalized. In the Independence Day speech, also Prime Minister gave a big focus on future of gaming in India.
Yeah,
And yeah, I mean, Krafton is one of the big market players. Them setting up a R&D will definitely lead to more jobs in that
sure.
area and some interesting games as well.
Maybe we'll see a Bangalore traffic run or something of that sort, right?
Evading
How do
Bangalore
you
traffic.
how do you dodge all the potholes and like get to your office in like 45 minutes straight? So fantastic stuff. I mean, look, I mean, there's s- big enough target segment of gamers here in India and developers here, so it's a no-brainer for all of these folks to have moved here yesterday.
Yeah.
It's good to see that they're finally like here. So
It's also the gaming dynamic in India is also quite peculiar, right? One, of course, there's the games like PUBGs and all, which are very like popular among college or like the younger folks. And then you have the likes of Candy Crush and Farmville, which are hugely popular in like,
yeah,
middle-aged folks.
yeah.
Right? So big
People who are
opportunity
like
there.
30 years older than me, at
Yeah.
least.
Happy birthday, by the way.
That's so random, dude.
Okay, so a lot of news last week was about the Independence Day celebration, but there are a few startups that made headlines in the fundraising space as well. Ather Energy raised 600 crore rupees or $71 million, and they're finally a unicorn. I don't know like why they weren't before. They're a fantastic company they are.
Nice.
And the lead investor in this round was National Investment Infrastructure Fund. Then we have mobility startup Fresh Bus that raised around 87.5 crore rupees or $10.5 million from Maniv, Shell Ventures, Altaria Capital, and Riverwalk Holdings. Then we have Skydo that does international payment management. They raised $5 million from Elevation Capital. Good. I mean, fintech is always there.
Yeah.
This Fresh Bus, right? Like when I was reading up about it, it really made me think that it's only because the country has invested in a lot of good road infrastructure that we are now seeing more companies like Freshbus, then there's Intercity,
Nice.
all of these companies come up.
So it would be harder for sure, but it's an eternal problem to solve, right? I mean, with the scale of country that India is, for sure, connectivity is like at the heart of everything. But yeah, I mean, people who've flown in from abroad as well. I mean, often are amazed by the kind of roads that we have, the connectivity we have outside of cities and states. But yeah, I mean, sadly, we'll have to really look at our cities and do something about it. Yeah, I mean, some of this is like subject of like this whole federalism and stuff.
Yeah.
Right? It is a state subject, and even devolved from that also. But yeah, good stuff. And the Ather fundraise is perhaps like a last call for all the investors,
Yeah.
right? Pre-IPO.
Pre-IPO.
So I'm really looking forward to that. I mean, we all saw that Ola Electric IPO'd. Right. So Ather will be an interesting one for sure. Right.
Ola also had hosted some Sankalp event recently.
Mm-hmm.
They announced newer models for its, S1 for its e-scooter lineup. Uh, some new battery also,
Right.
revolutionary battery. And they also, Bhavesh also in one slide claimed that Ola is the second largest seller of EV bikes,
Hmm.
right? But some Twitter user pointed out that he has completely left out all Chinese companies in that list.
I mean,
So
it is what it is. So I saw this weird tweet by Mr. Vivek Vadva, I mean, who often used to write for Harvard Business Review and so on, right? I mean, I remember reading his articles. He said Bhavesh is like Elon minus the ego issues and something of that sort, right? So
okay.
I don't know. Interesting. I mean, people definitely have their hopes up on Bhavesh, right? I mean, heck, I would bet on him as well. So we need plenty more Bhaveshes for India to prosper.
Nice. Cool. For the talk of the town section, the good folks at Bloom Ventures have started their podcast.
Yeah.
And the first episode, they had Girish Mathrubootham, co-founder and ex-CEO of Freshworks. They had a really interesting conversation, right? And Girish gave some great analogies on cricket, on how, and if you remember, we also discussed this in the roundup when Freshworks filed for its IPO. There was a big section on like how they see Rajnikant, right? And this conversation dives into that as well. If you guys haven't already, do take a look at that episode. It's out on YouTube. Roshan, did you check that out?
I've saved it for listening later, but yeah, seems like an interesting episode. Particularly, I'm interested in the bit where they talk about Madras FC, right, which is Girish's passion project. So, I mean, he's put in something like 10 million plus in that, apparently, right? So, amazing, amazing. So, I mean, I get really like emotional about people investing in sporting stuff in India, man. I
But
mean,
that's
like,
great, right? I mean, like
yeah.
first you're building one of the most iconic SaaS
Yeah.
brands in India. Then you take the company public. Company does well. The money you're getting from there, you're investing it back into society, like through sports.
Yeah, which is why I mean, I really mean it when I say that we need like 100, 200 more Girishes, Bhavishes, Sachin Bansals, and so on and so forth. Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. So last week there was also this headlines of former Google CEO Eric Schmidt saying that just because this Russia-Ukraine war is prompting him to become a licensed arms dealer so that he can integrate AI into drones, and that's what he's doing with his startup White Stock. There's this cool video we found online where he's talking about it. Let's take a look.
And the idea basically is to do two things. Use AI in complicated, powerful ways for these essentially robotic war. And the second one is to lower the cost of the robots. Now you sit there and you go, why would a good liberal like me do that? And the answer is that the whole theory of armies is tanks, artilleries, and mortar, and we can eliminate all of them. And we can make the penalty for invading a country, at least by land, essentially be impossible. It should eliminate the kind of land battles.
Well, this is a really interesting question. Is that does it give more of an advantage to defense versus offense? Can you even make that distinction?
Because I've been doing this for the last year, I've learned a lot about war that I really did not want to know. And one of the things to know about war is that the offense always has the advantage because you can always overwhelm the defensive systems. And so you're better off as a strategy of national defense to have a very strong offense that you can use if you need to. And the systems that I and others are building will do that. Because of the way the system works, I am now a licensed arms dealer.
Wow.
War, like in US economy, I think right now is really sustaining itself on manufacturing of armaments and funding the war.
I mean, see, that could be circular also, right? Maybe the whole of the US economy exists to fund the war machine. Who knows, right? I mean, it's hard to tell given the number of wars that they're involved in periodically. But he's right. He's absolutely right. I mean, it's just been tanks and artillery and whatnot for 100 years now, right? I mean, there is definitely a new innovation that is lying dormant, and who knows? I mean, AI could probably be that next step, right? I mean, I am just like having these visuals of crazy robots running amok on fields and whatnot, right? Or perhaps, I mean, it may not even be that. I mean, it may just be like a unique way to shut off your power supplies and blockade your internet and whatnot, right? I mean, it's crazy, man. And some of the smartest folks have kind of realized that they have to do something about this, right? So, famously, Oculus founder Palmer Luckey is now, running Anduril, which does all this high-tech equipment manufacture, uh, arms manufacture, basically, for the US military, right? So, I guess, some of our smartest folks will have to do something similar with the Indian Defense Forces as well. So yeah, it's an interesting time. It's definitely an interesting time, and judging by whatever he is speaking right now, you wouldn't guess that he is like a classic liberal types, right? I mean, but that's what it is. That's what it is, I suppose.
Have you seen this movie called War Games? It's a 1980s movie.
No,
Way
before you were born.
Way before I was born. But this movie is about AI war simulations and how that then US goes into DEFCON 5 status. Pretty interesting. We'll link it in the description. Watch it.
Interesting times.
So this is like AI war. Wow, this is becoming a reality.
I mean, did you guys watch Peter Thiel on Joe Rogan?
No, but we have.
I just caught snippets of that, and it's very interesting when he speaks about nuclear power, right? Power plants and so on. We had a chance to make real progress on that front and really solve energy supply for the planet. Okay. And what Thiel feels is that somehow the powers that be thought that there could be like massive misuse, and which is why, I mean, there are all kinds of theories and whatnot to sort of shut down nuclear, right? I mean, of course, I mean, there were all these leaks and whatnot, Fukushima, people remember, and so on. But on balance, yeah, I mean, it would have solved energy for us, really, the nuclear stuff, right? But yeah, there's this whole, like, a very uneasy balance right now with this whole mutually assured destruction sort of a thing, right? Which is, you have a nuclear, missile, I have a nuclear missile. We're both going to kill ourselves, so let's not escalate things beyond a certain level, right? I don't know how long that uncertain peace will survive. I really hope it survives forever and forever. I mean, but I'm also not that much of a wishful optimist, but we'll have to figure.
But there is some sort of optimism. I mean, North Korea opened up its borders to all international tourists. So, I mean, yeah, you make what you make of it, right?
Yeah. Let's see.
Okay, talking about Peter Thiel, this is another video we found online of Peter Thiel sharing his views as to like what AI could look like, and he compares this to the entire internet revolution of 1990s. So let's take a look at this short clip.
It's that maybe AI in 2023, 24 is like the internet in 1999, where on one level, it's clear the internet's going to be big and get a lot bigger, and it's going to dominate the economy. It's going to rearrange the society in the 21st century. Figuring out how to actually apply it, in sort of all these different ways is going to take something like 2 decades. But that doesn't distract from it being a really big deal.
Yeah. When Peter Thiel speaks, you better listen. Right.
Well, it makes sense, right? I mean, right now we're seeing a lot of this buzz around AI, but that hype is the reason why people are committing to build on it. And it will take some time to mature, but I think really cool use cases will emerge out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, any technology is pretty much the same, right? I mean, the version 1 of it will be very imperfect. It will solve ridiculous things, and there will be more hype than substance. And at some point, the substance will kind of catch up, right? I mean, that pretty much happens with everything. So yeah, let's see.
So this investing in the AI space has to be a
interesting times, as I said.
There's another interesting piece of news that came in our radar. Ghana was acquired by Radio Mirchi, and it's not hot. The acquisition was for 25 lakh rupees, and at one point, I think Ghana was really valued highly, right? They were doing revenues of around 12.5 CR and whatnot, but since then it has really taken a nosedive.
I mean, if that was the buying price, we could have pulled in some cash and bought it ourselves. Just for swag value. But Yeah, interesting. I mean, people are saying that both these entities have a substantial Times Internet, stake in them. So this could have been like a alleged related party transaction, right? Where one party acquires its own entity from its own entity basically. But who knows, right? But 25 lakhs is an absurd amount. I mean, I think
That's like
their
really
offices would have been worth more than that, right? I mean, seriously. But it's tough, man. I mean, it's a lesson in the fact that content business is hard to run, right? You always have to keep it exciting, fresh. Always make sure that there's engagement and so on. And there's just a plethora of choices at this point of time, right? So tough. I mean, Ghana spent a lot of cash on brand and so on and so forth. So it's still worth way more than 25 lakhs in my opinion. So let's see.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Short discussion. Folks, we hope you have some interesting takeaways from it. And thanks so much for staying with us right till the end. Once again, please remember to rate this episode on your favorite podcast platform. And if you're listening to this on YouTube, like this video. Let us know what you think in the comments. And yeah, share it with your friends and family. We'll be back again with more exciting news next week. Until then, take care and have a great week.
See you guys. Take care. Cheers.